Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. How many people have an app in any store out there for download? Everybody? And so one of the things I used to do, I used to present at MoDev all this programming stuff, and then I would throw in something on marketing, and everybody would come tackle me afterwards about the marketing stuff. So this is kind of a slide deck on tips that I use that help promote my apps, help market those strategies that all of us can use. Just tips I've learned over the last 4 years, and I have my app in all of these stores here. So, and I'm going to speak very open and frank about my experiences. So the problem is you build the app, you publish it, but then nobody can discover your app. So to compound that, really, there's just so many apps right now. It used to be easy when I first started out, and I was the first one in the store with less than 1,000 apps. Those were the fun days. Now, when you publish an app, it's just so hard to get discovered. We're approaching 800,000 apps in iTunes. We have over 200,000 publishers. 1,000 new apps are being launched every day. Now, if you look at this chart, this is kind of the truth hurts chart. And basically 80% of developers don't make enough money off their apps to even support the development of that app. And that is the sad truth. The apps that are doing the best are the ones that are actually being marketed. And if you look down there, the average marketing budget is $30,000. However, more than half of the developers out there allocate $0 for marketing. I'm not saying you have to spend a lot of money, but you do have to invest a lot of your time in order to properly launch an app. Let's look at who is successful. We all hold Angry Birds as kind of the biggest success, and they are. They're currently making 30% of their revenue off of this stuff, merchandise. So they've expanded outside of the app realm. And there's certainly a good model to look at. But who else is making money? And if you look at the top grossing apps on the iTunes store, it tells you. And if you look close, you're going to see a pattern. And it's sure the apps may change from day to day, but the pattern pretty much remains the same. And that is most of those apps are free. The other pattern you'll notice is most of those apps are games. So right there, those are the ones that are really taking in the most money. And I want to talk a little bit about that, strategies that you can do. Because software now is cheap thanks to Apple. We've been lumped in with all the musicians, and your work is now 99 cents. So, and when they first launched the store, it favored the 99-cent app, and it still is favored because top paid is the default view, but top paid is not top revenue, right? So right away, it's based on downloads, not revenue, so that favors 99 cents. You're looking at the Google side. When Google first launched their store, only US developers could charge for apps. This created a problem for US developers. The rest of the world produced free apps. And that's why I think you have the trend of Android apps are pretty much free across the board. So we can thank Google for that, for launching a strategy that made it almost impossible to sell a 99-cent app. Because it favors the free. There's more free apps in the Android store because of that. This is kind of an old slide. I still like it. A few iOS developers that struck it rich back in the day, and Eliza Block wrote Two Across, was making $2,000 a day. Trism made $250,000 in 2 months. iShoot, which was a really cool game, made $600,000 in a month. Of course, Angry Birds being the most recent. Well, not space, but they just came out with Star Wars, and I'm sure it's equally, or if not better. But they did 10 million downloads in 3 days, and they were completely cross-platform. So yes, you can make money charging for your apps. And that's the question you should always ask. Do I want to charge or do I want to make it free and try to monetize in some other way? Paid apps, it's a one-time fee. Once they make that payment, they get a lifetime of free updates if that's what you're doing, if you're going to support your app. Most people don't if an app never becomes popular. I wrote an app called White Noise that's still doing very well, and the problem is, 4 years ago, people buy it for 99 cents. They've had 3 years of free updates. So you have to think, how can you monetize an app, after it's purchased? And I've found that in-app purchase within a paid app is actually somewhat difficult. And if you look at Gartner's quote, in-app payments are becoming more profitable than paid apps. And I think that's the trend going forward, and that's certainly the advice I'm recommending. With free apps, you get more downloads. Having more downloads, having a big audience means you can have a bigger audience. That means there's more chance of word of mouth. And with free apps, there's a lot of ways to get that recurring revenue. And we'll talk briefly about that. There's plenty of ad vendors out there. iAd, AdMob, Millennial, Amazon, MoPub, which actually is both an aggregator and an advertiser. And those services I use personally, and I recommend them. In addition to advertising, there's in-app purchases. Of course, iOS supports it. Google supports their own for their platform for the Play Store. So does Amazon. There's affiliate programs. Link Share is what iTunes uses for the US, and Amazon has their own affiliate program. And if you're not familiar with those, look into it. It's a way to earn extra percentage of any traffic you send to their store. And of course, you can make money with the large user base exit strategy. That is the Instagram. We didn't make any money, but we have a ton of users, and it actually worked out for them at about $33 a head. So here are a few stores that I've been in that either are no longer or I don't recommend them. In fact, Palm is dead now, sadly. Ovi store was a nightmare. They're gone, I think. They're kind of switching over to Microsoft's platform, as they should. That was just a horrible experience working with their app store. Verizon recently announced their VCast store. They're going to do away with that. I actually posted on their their forums a month ago and said you need to just stop. And it's like they're doing that. I'm glad. Awful store, awful experience. Windows Phone, the store itself is fine. It's just without the customers, it's hard to support them. BlackBerry used to be great. I've made good money off of the BlackBerry store, but not anymore. So I wouldn't recommend starting with that platform. Of course, these are the stores that I currently am supporting and recommend, from the iTunes App Store to the Mac Store, the Google Play Store, Amazon App Store, the Windows Store for Windows 8 devices, and I just recently added Nook to it. And they're all fairly similar, but they do have some differences. So basically, they're either free or they charge you $99 a year. That's pretty much across the board. The revenue split is typically 70%. I think Microsoft bumps up to 80, but usually BlackBerry even started at 80 and they went down to 70. So I think going forward, that's what you're always going to expect. Of course, the platform is either going to be iOS, Android, or Windows 8. And of course, with your platform, you're going to have your programming languages and all your different tools that I have there up on the slide. As far as monetization with ads, Apple has their iAd network, which is very good. If you're going to make a free app, I would recommend at least starting with iAd. Android, of course, Google bought AdMob, and that's a very good service. Amazon's coming out with their own ad network, so you can use that not only just for their store, but also for the Google Play Store as well. Nook, interesting, no ads. You try to submit an app with an ad, you'll get denied. It's an interesting business decision they've made. So, in fact, if you try to submit an app with an ad, they'll tell you, why don't you just charge 99 cents and get rid of the ad? And that's what they want you to do. So it's interesting, and I kind of like the concept. So if you have all your free apps that you were making money with ads, well, you can just submit them to Nook and take the ads out and charge money for them. They don't have in-app purchase yet, but they do have trials, so you can give people a trial of your app and then they can upgrade. So interesting decision. So you have to see the Nook may actually be a cleaner platform because you're not going to be, have a ton of ads in all the applications that you download. And because they made that decision from the beginning, you're not going to be competing with a lot of free apps, because what's the point? You can't monetize it at the moment. Windows platform has their own ads platform that you can link into, which I think is interesting because I wish iAd would support the Mac platform. Maybe one day they will. But I like how Microsoft at least is allowing you to support not only the phone but also the desktop when it comes to Windows 8. Light versions. Most of, when we first started writing for iOS, they didn't have in-app purchase, so everyone created a light version and a full version. Now with these newer app stores, they're getting away from that. So the Nook and actually the Windows Store do not allow the light version. They want you to keep all your logic in one single app, and which is going to make ultimately for a cleaner store. All right, so very quickly, the king of downloads. I'm a big fan of App Annie. I like their statistics, but in terms of which countries you should be focusing on, it's of course the United States being the biggest one, Japan, followed by the UK, depending on which platform you are. But there's been considerable growth in both Brazil and Japan. So I think it's important to look at the stats, go to App Annie and use some of their trends that they publish. Good information, especially if you're going to have an internationalized app. So who's making the most revenue? Well, if you look at App Annie, even today I looked at an updated one. This one's a little out of date, but iOS is clearly king of revenue. But I think this is a little misleading because this doesn't take into account advertising, and you can make good money off monetization with advertising and in-app purchase. But for now, I mean, in-app purchase and revenue, the iTunes ecosystem, if you will, embraces that more. And I think it gets back to that original problem of everything was free on Android in the beginning. Okay. I'm going to go through a series of tips that I've kind of learned over the years and hopefully will help you out. The first one is always incorporate before you publish your app. There's so many people that'll send you nasty letters. The last thing you want is to lose your house over some patent troll or some trademark infringement, and I get letters all the time. It's best to shield yourself from that. From some personal examples, my first game I wrote called Bubble Pop, apparently pop has been trademarked by some other company, the word pop. It's ridiculous, but you get these kinds of letters all the time. You'll have certain companies that may think that they invented in-app purchase, and they may come after you if you use in-app purchase. So the last thing you want is them to come after you personally. The second one is what idea should you come up with? And this is the test, and everyone pitches me, and I'm sure everyone pitches you, the $1 million app idea. If you just do my idea, you're going to make $1 million. Well, this is the formula I use. First of all, is your idea even possible? Most people have these great ideas, but the platform won't support it. Will it have mass appeal? I think that's crucial if you ever want to compete with the big guys. You need, if you're going to develop a targeted app, that's fine. But in order to get a good ranking within these app stores, both females and males and young and old need to download and contribute to the downloads of your app, because all rankings are based off of downloads, mostly downloads. Ask, has it been done before? That it probably has, but that doesn't mean you can't innovate and make something better. And always search iTunes or always search the Play Store for whatever idea and see what's out there so you can do a competitive profile. When it comes to developing, I know this is a cross-platform event. I always say go native or go home. You want to showcase the native APIs on the device. And use things like HTML5 if you're going to display things, that's fine, but I would always pick the controls that are native to the phone to use. and because that's going to be the consistent look and feel that people are used to. Pick one feature to be the best at. That's kind of the App Store philosophy now. For 99 cents, you know, you're buying a little feature. You're not buying this all-encompassing product, you know, for $50. You're buying a feature that's really, really good. And that's kind of the strategy that a lot of successful app developers will tell you. Pick one thing and just be the best at it. And now make version 1.0 the best, because it used to be you throw whatever in the store and you just keep updating it and making it better. That strategy's gone. I mean, you want to make version 1.0 really good. Ask your users for feedback. At least give them a way to send you feedback. In all of my applications, I have a feedback button that will email me, and it'll send along the name of the app, the version of the app, the platform they're on, and I'm able to capture that. And it's good for your customers because they can alert you to issues, and it's also good for you because the last thing you want is a 1-star review on whatever store, because they're just frustrated it doesn't work and you're not giving them a way to contact you easily. And so they'll take it out on you with the old 1-star reviews. So give them another way to contact you. Get rated. All of my apps, they'll prompt you at some point if you're a happy, loyal customer to ask for a rating on whatever store, whether it's Google Play, Amazon, or iTunes. And every time they upgrade, so reviews are always tied to whatever version they're running, right, whenever they review you. So you have to ask them every time you release a new version, could you please repost your review? Because then it gets lost in the noise. So you want to ask your loyal users, and those are the ones that keep coming back in the app. So I'll track how often someone launches the app, and if they've launched it X number of times or done this feature X number of times, probably a good user. Let's go ahead and prompt them for a review. You should always put in the ability to share from your app. My latest game, Tic-Tac-Toe Glow, offers a lot of different places in the app that you can share with, whether it's via email, Twitter, or Facebook. And that way you're sharing the app, and you're hoping that it will go viral, and you're just giving them the tools for that to happen. Yeah.
Sharing option do you find pursues most?
I don't track it. It's impossible to track email. I don't know how many emails are being sent. You can track via insights on Facebook. So, but I can't really give you a good answer on that. Yeah.
With regards to sharing, what is your default or your go-to strategy? Is it email, or do you prefer like address book integration and text, or what are your thoughts on that?
Do it all. I mean, yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with giving multiple ways to share an application. I know Google, when you do the Android apps, there's kind of a default sharing mechanism. Same with Windows 8, where whatever ways you can do via text, email. Unfortunately, Bluetooth comes up. I don't understand why that happens, but yeah, just more ways the better. I think the defaults, though, I think Facebook, certainly, that's one of the best ones. But you should always give other options, because not everyone has Facebook. So just put it in there, but you can also share more than just, here's a link to my app. You can share photos from within your app. So one of the things I did in this is, when you have a winning game, I'll take a picture of the screen, and you'll be able to send that out using the same mechanisms. So that's a even better way. Let them tell a story that they just beat the computer player. Yeah.
Are your games multiplayer, and if so, do you use things like Game Center?
Yeah, I mean, you should use whatever platform you're developing on. I won't release a game without Game Center support. If you're dealing with, unfortunately, Google hasn't released anything that I know of yet, but Amazon has. They have the Game Circle. So whatever platform you're on, you should definitely embrace, whatever APIs they're giving you for free, certainly. And Game Center is great. I mean, you can do turn-based games and implement everything through Game Center, and you won't even have to have your own server infrastructure. Make sure to test your app everywhere. My last title is the first time I ever did it. I launched on all these platforms all at the same time from day one, and it was nice to do that, because I can promote it and not care if you're on an Android device or an iPhone or iPad. And so it's a lot easier to promote when a thing runs everywhere. But in order to do that, you have to really test it out and make sure that all those screen resolutions work. Let's talk a little bit about how people find apps in the store. Let's see, I have about 5 more minutes. Most people will search or they'll share, and that's why we talked about sharing already. How can you, when you're within the app, how do you share the app with others? Let's talk a little bit about search. And what do you think the most used word is in top games? If you search the entire iTunes store, what's the #1 word that's used throughout everything?
Free.
Yes, of course. People love free. What about top business apps? Free? It's not free, actually. Anyone? Money. Money. Pro. Business users love their pro. And what I'm trying to do here is saying, yes, keywords do matter. And so I always take a look at the keywords in whatever category I'm developing for. And you should too, because search is primarily based off of keywords. Yes. I wrote a program to scrape iTunes and do frequency counts. And you should too. Search, iTunes does, lets you do 100 bytes of keywords, which is kind of weird because kind of favors using smaller words, doesn't it? And even commas count. So you're only given that 100 bytes to really make the best of it. Amazon, 30 words. Google Play, they don't have keywords for some reason, but they index that whole description field. So you should be sure to use all of it. Windows 8 has a mix of keywords and descriptions, and I recommend Google AdWords keyword optimization tool if you need some hints on keywords. You should always come out with a good icon. It's one of the first things that people see when they're searching, and it took me, my last game took me 45 tries till I found something that I actually liked visibly on the device. You know, it looked great when it was large screen, but when I got it on the device, it just never looked right. So it took me a few tries, if you will. Most people don't read, so your first line of your app description, you should make it great. Mine for white noise is find out why the world is sleeping better. That right there tells you a lot of things, doesn't it? It tells you, one, you need this app to sleep better, but two, the world is using it, and you should too. That's that one little line. It took me a while to boil down. It seems so simple, but you'll constantly refine it and try to capture people. And thinking that way works great if you ever do mobile advertising as well. Now more than ever, screenshots matter. iOS 6 is just awful when it comes to search discovery because you get one result at a time and you get to see the screenshot of that first result. So iOS 6 has really changed how people are finding apps because it is one app at a time. So if you're the lucky one that has the right keywords registered, you want that first screenshot to be amazing. And so here's an example of what I did with white noise. And you don't have to have dull and boring screenshots of your app. You can kind of spice it up a little bit, put in some text, highlight the major features of your app. Don't be afraid to make a video as well. The video I made has actually gotten a lot of hits on YouTube. And it's just not a boring screenshot either. It's not just here's the simulator. It's a lot more than that. And I recommend it, and Amazon and Google even allow you to put links to your video. Or Amazon lets you upload a video. Google lets you link to YouTube. All right. Launch day comes. Here's a few tips. Going to go really quick. Use newsletters. I currently use MailChimp. I find them great. The templates they have make emails look great. When I launch an app, I'm going to do a lot of cross-promotion with my existing apps. I have over 40 apps, and I have the way that I can cross-promote and tell people about, hey, this new app just launched. And so I'll do that, especially with light versions are good. Light versions, you can post them for free. You can promote your full version that way, or you can put in any of your free apps that you have. You can run a house ad and then promote. And so you're not paying money, you're just tapping into your existing users. Get reviewed. Nothing is better than having blogs or the press run, a review of your application. I've been fortunate to have been recommended and reviewed by pretty much every major publisher there, and they all come through my press email address, press@tmsoft.com, and that's how they all contacted me. So make sure that you have a way the press can get hold of you. If you need a list of bloggers that are friends, I call them friends because you can pay for a review or you can have a real review done if someone likes your app, and I choose the latter. I recommend Gannett.org if you need a list of good bloggers that don't accept money for reviews. Getting featured is always great. I always say, I've been featured on iTunes a lot. I've been featured on Amazon. If someone can tell me how to get featured on Google Play Store, let me know. I think there's just 2 guys running that store. But iTunes is great, and they want you to Apple wants you to showcase their platform, use the latest and greatest APIs. That's the trick I always used, and it seemed to work very well. Of course, iOS 6 and the iPhone 5, those are jam-packed with new things, so that's always a good feature set to focus on. When it comes to advertising, I've used AdMob a lot. Again, I'll run house ads in my own apps primarily, but if you're going to do something like AdMob, they make it very easy. It's almost a penny a click. Depending on what season, you might be able to get penny a click, but you're probably going to need to go a little bit more than that. If you're curious about a case study that I did with AdMob, a very successful campaign that I ran for one of my apps, that is out there on the AdMob website. I actually got a CPI of 20 cents, and I'm told that's about as good as you can get. That means you're paying 20 cents per install of your application. But remember, you're paying per click, so you're probably going to be paying a lot more than that. When it comes to app tracking, I recommend App Annie. It's a free service. If you don't like when other companies have access to your financials, you might choose AppViz 2, which is a Mac product, downloads all of your rankings from iTunes. Another great product I recommend. And that is it, folks. We are out of time. You can contact me here, email, Twitter. I do a tech podcast, tech411show.com, and I wrote a book forward by Steve Wozniak. So please check it out if you can. Thank you so much. Yes.
Yesterday somebody mentioned that you have free app, you need to sell millions of them to actually make millions of downloads to make any money from ads.
Mm-hmm.
So the choice is, do you charge 99 cents so that your volume doesn't, so you collect money but the volume is low, or do you risk sort of getting it free and getting no ad? What's your take on the ad?
I would go free. I would go free first. You'll get more downloads, better chance of going viral. If you launch paid first, it's not an easy thing to do to switch it to free, because then you'll make people upset if you try to put ads in there. So, you can always go from free to paid and take the ads out, but you can't do the other way. So I would always go free and just upsell with in-app purchase, monetize with advertising. But again, it depends on the application. Some people that are making, I saw one app in the top grossing that's charging $190 for their app. Depends on the app, but they're obviously making money.
What do they do?
Education. Anyone else? All right. Yeah, I'll be outside. We'll let the other professors set up.